Hello and welcome to Talking Bottom. I'm Matt Brooks,
I'm Paul Tanter.
And I'm Ange Pearson.
and today we're going to be talking about Colin Grigson, the bitter bassist from the comic strip presents Bad News and More Bad News, and the album also called Bad News. These mockumentary classics came out in 83 and 88, with the album coming out in 87. This actually beat Spinal Tap to the punch by a matter of months, pulled apart the egos and chaos and cluelessness of the British metal rock bands. Colin, played by Rik Mayall, is the band's self-appointed genius, sex symbol, and poetic soul, who also happens to be a petty, wig-wearing diva with a god complex who works in a bank when the band isn't keeping him too busy. Let's go through the tantrums, the rivalries, and whether Colin was the brains or just another wanker.
I think he was definitely another wanker in the band, isn't he? It's AIDS baby, this really.
This is. AIDS was furious that Spinal Tap came out at basically the same time and got all of the credit for it.
Did Aid write and direct both of these?
No.
No, wait. Was it Stephen Frears who directed the first one? Or
This is a quiz question. So I'm going to go over it now. I'm just going to go over it right now until we brought it up. But never mind.
Because that was sort of Aid's education in directing, wasn't it? He sort of like glued himself to Stephen Frears, who went on to direct Mr. Jolly and also a lot of big films.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sort of trying to learn how to direct. I think Peter Richardson talked about this as well when we interviewed him.
Yeah, so Sandy Johnson directed Bad News, and he played himself in the episode.
Forget everything I just said about Stephen Frears.
Yeah, Sandy Johnson directed it, played himself. Sandy Johnson is a BAFTA award-winning director, writer and producer who has worked extensively in comedy and drama. He's directed such shows as Ruddy Hell is Harry and Paul, Benidorm, and Edge of Heaven, starring Blake Harrison, who was described in a review of the series as this generation's Nicholas Lyndhurst.
Now, Matt, I
worked on that.
We won't divert too much because this is about Bad News. But yeah, you had the pleasure of working on that.
I worked on Edge of Heaven, and it's terrible.
I can't say I'm familiar with it, but I'll take your opinion as truth.
This generation's Nicholas. Wasn't that preceded by the word something along the lines of he's in danger of being pigeonholed as this generation's Nicholas Lyndhurst?
But Nicholas Lyndhurst's great.
Yeah.
I always like that peep show bit with the quiz questions or the riddles. Like, what? I have a mouth I never eat. I've got a bed but never sleep. What am I? A river.
Nicholas Lyndhurst.
So let's get back to Colin Grigson.
So Bad News. This is one of the outliers of Rik's career, I think, because this very, very much is an ensemble where he doesn't shine above the rest. I think he really is one of the four.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the young ones in that regard, isn't it?
I think Rik shines in the young ones.
He does, but I think, Vivian, Neil, like they're both really memorable characters alongside him, I would say, more so than Viv and what is it? It's Den,
Vim, Spider,
yeah,
Den, and Colin.
Yeah.
Now, do you think this is down to the character or the performance from Rik, or is it because it was written by Aid and maybe he had a hand in the edit and he was, and I'm not saying this in a bitter way, but would he have kept Rik reined in order for Rik not to outshine everyone else?
I think it's definitely because, as you've already said, the word ensemble. It is an ensemble piece. They're in a band, they're a group, and obviously there are egos and battles within it. But actually, I think everyone gets their own sort of fairly equal share of screen time, don't they? Certainly in the first one, maybe in the second one. Actually, Rik kind of edges his way into a few more outbursts, doesn't he, as Colin? Whereas in the first one, he's barely given sort of like any kind of time to come out of his shell in that regard. But he's just the shit bass player, isn't he?
If you look at other comic strips where it's been ensembles, specifically ensembles of four, such as like Four Men in a Car, Rik tends to be the larger one who kind of occupies a bit more of our attention. Same as Four Men on a Plane. So yeah, I wonder, is it to do with the character?
What a cast! What a cast this has. This is what the young ones should have been, of maybe.
Course, yeah.
Well, it's interesting, because Spider, of course, is Peter Richardson, who we've talked about before, was thought of to be Mike in the Young Ones, wasn't he? And it didn't happen. But I would argue that he's not particularly a character that shines out of the screen in this. I don't think any of them are really vying for the camera's attention, are they? Like, it is a character study for all of them, but it's about the band, isn't it? Rather than individual egos. I'd say the one that's got the biggest ego is probably Aid's character. If
Vim,
he's the one who's trying to be something he isn't.
You get this with mockumentaries, don't you, where everyone's playing it with two layers going on, what they're doing for the cameras and what they're actually feeling and thinking and
Yeah.
stuff, and that everyone's putting on a show.
Yes,
And-
Nigel Plain is very similar to Neil, I think, isn't he, as Den? I think
He's
there are
more violent.
loads- Yes, there's loads
But
of
yeah.
flashes of that. He's the dumber
Mm.
of the dumb, isn't he?
Everyone in this group is putting on a show for the cameras versus what they actually are in real life. But Rick's character is probably the one that has the biggest difference in terms of the persona he's trying to project
Mm.
and his real home life,
So
where
you
he's
can-
like
yeah.
a teller in a bank who
Yes.
at home yells for his mummy.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
were echoes of Kevin Turvey in it, I thought, and obviously we talked a
Bit
little
of Rick
bit
as
about
well.
the-
Obviously, the rich parent
Yeah.
stuff. The wig coming off is one of the biggest things I remember about Colin. There's a few interviews that were on real shows and stuff that the characters did in that the actors did in character, I should say.
Yeah.
And the wig coming off is like basically what happens in every single appearance of them.
Yeah, it's part of like showing him up, isn't it, to be the fraud? And I love, I mean, the Kevin Turvey bit is definitely in More Bad News, where he's in bed and he's smoking, and then
Mhm.
his mum comes in and he's like stubbing it out and blowing away the smoke. That
Yeah.
gave me echoes of Kevin Turvey, and obviously the fact it's a mockumentary as well. We went over this in the Turvey episode, that you almost wonder whether maybe Aid was thinking around that time, oh, I want to do a vehicle that's this, and obviously they were doing loads of comic strip stuff. So the idea of the mockumentary, we've said, The Office weren't the first, not even Spinal Tap were first, even though it's the one that's remembered, isn't it, by so many more people.
A mockumentary, as for filmmakers, a mockumentary is a really good way to shoot something, and you don't have to make everything look perfect.
Yeah.
So you can shoot a lot of footage. You can get a lot of footage quickly, because if you're trying to do shots and compile scenes, you have to make everything perfect. So a mockumentary is good in terms of speed, in terms of gathering lots of material, especially if you've got people improvising. But it's also good in the regard of you've got characters aware that they're being recorded, which you don't have in a film, because people don't know that it's a film. So they're aware it's being recorded, and like, as you mentioned, David Brent or someone like that, they know it's going to go out on TV, so they're thinking, shit, I need to present myself in the best way possible.
And that comes up in this quite a lot, doesn't it? Like, there's like, Dave, don't put that in this film.
Yeah.
If this is in this film, we're going to kill you, and all that kind of stuff. Like, they're very hyper aware of the fact they're being filmed, and they're trying to portray a certain image, but they're failing at every
The
turn.
exposition is very easy to do in a documentary as well, because you can literally have them say exactly what they're thinking to the camera, which, I mean, you can do that in a voiceover, I think, with other films, but it's such a quick shortcut to get to what the characters are feeling.
The comedy as well, I think it adds a layer of vulnerability to a character. Like, they're more exposed, aren't they?
Right.
It's how you act when you are in the spotlight, isn't it? It's like you're frozen a little bit. You're not quite being yourself. In fact, you're putting on a performance.
And you'll often see it in mockumentaries, those moments where someone is there, something is revealed, or or they're caught out in something, and it's always that moment where their eyes just flick to the camera. People will often recognize it for from David Brent in The Office, but you see it in this as well. The eyes move to the camera for a moment, or someone will, or they'll look behind the camera and say, "You promised me you wouldn't say that," or ask about that, or something like that.
There's no breaking of a fourth wall as such, is there, in a mockumentary, because we are all aware, and they're aware of that wall being completely invisible. Really,
so
it's
right,
like
so it needs a different term, that there isn't a fourth wall to begin with.
Well, it's interesting because I guess these are characters and they're playing, so there is,
And the
but
actor, the director's playing himself as well, which is another weird.
it's a realism.
Yeah.
It adds a realism to it that aids the comedy in the regard that all the characters are trying to do their best, and therefore it's all the more glorious when they fail or they expose themselves in a certain way, because they are just a bunch of idiots, aren't they?
They're all phonies, really, when down. Well, I suppose Vim isn't really a phony, but he's nowhere near as talented as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Colin is the biggest phony of the lot of them. It's a quote I've got of him which sums him up pretty well. I'm the bassist. That means I'm important. There you go. I think bassist is a real musician's instrument as well. It's one people that need to know a lot about music to appreciate. So on paper, he should be knowledgeable about music, right? But he isn't.
It's the role in the band that when people at school are going, hey, let's put a band together, it's the role that no one ever wants to do, because lead guitar is sexy, singer is sexy, drummer that has something about it. Bass is like, I'm just providing a note for you.
Yeah,
It's almost like the triangle.
There's people have a go at the drummer, but the drumming looks cool, I think, as well.
Yeah.
There's a joke like, would you call someone that hangs around with three musicians a drummer? So let's go briefly over the plots of Bad News and More Bad News. First one is them going on tour to promote their single, their album stuff, and no one turns up, and they all have a fight. That's basically it. It's quite short as well. It's nowhere near as long as
Half
I
hour,
remember.
right?
Did Samuel Beckett write the plot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. Oh, they love that stuff, though, don't they? And more bad news. It's within the world. Bad news has been made as a documentary. It's gone out and show them up as being a shit band, basically. And then Channel 4 are giving them a record contract to go on tour to promote, to capitalize on the fame they got from Bad News, the documentary.
Yeah.
They go out and play Donington, which is it's Download Festival now. It's Donington Festival before.
Now, was it called Donington, or because I always hear it referred to as Monsters of Rock Donington?
Oh,
So was it
maybe,
called?
I'm not sure.
I think it is Monsters of Rock
Right.
Yeah.
playing this. I'm not too sure, but it's at Castle Donington,
Yeah.
as you say, where Download is now. So it's a massive rock
Yeah,
festival.
and they actually go on stage. That's not fake, and they interview a fair few real musicians who all just. But you can tell there's a glint in their eye. There's like, just slag them off.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want.
Now, who have they got? There's Ozzy Osbourne.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who else? There's
Lemmy.
Lemmy from Motorhead.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
They're the only two I remembered.
There was
Yeah.
Def Leppard, a couple from Def Leppard. I can't remember their names, sorry. But I was watching it thinking like they've been put up to say these particular things, and I don't think they have. They've just been like, just say what you want about how shit they are.
They've talked about this often, and there are several things that are very notable about it. One is that when they were filming it, they had no rehearsal for going on stage or anything like that. It was literally you walk up there and you sort of you've got a sea of 60,000
So
people
when
and
you say no
wall of sound.
rehearsal, does that even mean like a sound check? Did they ever get? Do you know?
Well, you know what? They've never talked about that. But when Aid has talked about when they went on stage, it was like they just went up on stage for the first time and they were there.
That was the
yeah.
first gig that they
Yeah.
actually did film, right? Because obviously in the first Bad News, they don't really actually get to perform to anyone apart from one man and his dog
Uh-huh.
and the Dawn French like schoolgirl who's tagged along with them and everything. So I don't think they'd actually, as actors, performed as the group Bad News until they walked out on stage at Donington. That's how they tell it. And my God,
And it's not
what-
a full
the amount
yeah.
of shit being thrown at
I
them.
mean,
piss.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
literal
Yeah.
paws of piss.
So Peter Richardson's talked about this in interviews, and I think Aid's talked about it as well. But at these festivals, and people who have gone to these things will know that some people, because they're in the crowd at the front and they don't want to lose their place at the front or near the front, they've got their drinks with them and they're drinking their beer and they don't want to go to the toilet, so they piss into their pint glasses. And then when a band comes on, especially a band who aren't real, and you're there for your favorite rock band, this group of actors come on, taking the piss out of the genre that you love, your beloved rock. What do? You start hurling pints of piss at them. But apparently, I've read this in an interview with someone, I think it was with Aid or Rik, word had got round that they were going to be coming on stage. And so people have prepared things to throw, including emptying all the local butcher's shops of sheep's eyeballs so they could throw them at them as well. So there was a sea of piss and sheep's eyeballs.
See the projectiles. They were really big.
That makes me
fucking
think
bombs.
of Brent with like he threw the underpant on. Well, that was Marmite. He prepared that earlier.
So-
Tell me that.
Someone did that at home and brought that. Yeah.
Tell me that for. It doesn't make me feel better.
It's quite staggering how very real. I mean, yeah, it is a mockumentary and it's meant to feel real, but fuck me, does it feel real when they're up there and you can see. And then Rik falls over at one point, and it actually looks like a genuine slip. I know Rik was great at selling a pratfall, but it really does look like he's messing around. But then he actually goes on.
It's doing their song that they're most known for. All of those bottles hit them. Then it takes such a dark turn where then it just sort of cuts to them all in hospital and then is telling what's happened. Vim has been put into a coma and he said that he was probably going to die.
It's so great that the
Colin
real of
Grigson
that.
had-
Because it pans to some footage as well, doesn't it? It's like when everyone stormed the stage, and then it's just brilliant because it's Rik as Colin like kicking Aid in the head with such vitriol with the wig off, and it's like, and for a while people didn't realize who he was until they then did, and then they
and
turned
then
on
and then what they did, like so his not catchphrase but thing he does often when the camera's on him, he flicks his tongue like he's giving oral sex, right? Then they then says, oh, and they found out Colin was that was who he is. They didn't recognize him with the wig. They slit his throat, and you just see him in bed with a scar over his throat, and he just rolls his eyes like, oh God, like, oh dear, and then tries to do the tongue thing again, but that was hurt his throat, and then
there's an insinuation that it's starting to bleed again, and he's sort of like choking from the inside. It's so well told.
And Spider got out of it by setting himself on fire or blowing himself up. So anyway, but
detail.
Vim's probably going to die at the end.
But and then it's the dark, bleak, brilliant thing of it is just sort of like, so we might make a bit of money.
Yeah.
But we've jumped right to the end because it's a brilliant escalation.
It's all right to
Should
do.
we go over the personality of Colin
Yeah.
then and his interactions with the other band members and how he fits in the hierarchy of it
Can we
all?
talk about his voice?
Yes, so
I
he's got two
really,
different voices, hasn't he?
Really noticed the difference from a lot of Rick's other characters is the Colin voice, which is really quite deep.
Oxbridge?
It's quite well, it's not even the accent, it's the depth of tone in Colin's voice because he's just speaking from the bottom of his voice box.
But he's putting that voice on, isn't it?
The character's putting the voice.
That's the voice he puts on to sound cool and sexy. Yeah.
And but no, I can't really think of other Rick characters that necessarily fall into that semitone of because he's done arrogant and he's done someone trying to be posh.
You know what? You're right. It's not something that other Rick characters have done, but for some reason, a voice that in a sitcom, there's an actor who does that voice, and it's basically the same voice, and it's in extras. When Ricky Gervais is being interviewed by someone from a broadsheet, and he does this thing like, "Come in, welcome to my place."
That's not your voice. Yes, it is.
What are you talking about? I talk like me.
No, I've heard you in other interviews before. That's it.
In fact, you know what?
It's almost like radio DJ, isn't it?
If Ace Rimmer was British, because Ace Rimmer kind of has a bit of a... But if Ace Rimmer kind of has this as well. Hey, hey, welcome to Smooth FM.
Yes.
I've got a really sexy voice.
Absolutely, and Coogan can do it brilliantly. But it just struck me that I haven't seen Rick do it that often. I'm sure that voice has probably come up again in other characters or flashes of it. It was striking to me just how much he's thought about, well, what's my character's voice going to be? And he's putting it on, like you say, the character's putting it on, because then you do hear is like, "Mummy."
Yeah.
And that bit where he falls in the dog poo outside when he's like, when he's caught in the sequel.
That is one of the best bits of physical comedy I've ever seen Rik Mayall do. He's walking down the street, the camera is our POV, but the camera from the documentary is sort of hiding, following him. And it's just been revealed that he spends his time working as a bank teller. So he's got his nice smart hair in his suit, walking down the street, steps in dog shit. And he skids in it. And then does what no one would do, which is takes his shoe off to look at the bottom. And as he's looking at the bottom, then puts his unshoed foot down, which he's wearing a sock on in the shit. It's like fucking amazing.
Everyone, he's got to like hop back to the house, and he's at the door, and that's the moment where they pounce on him.
And it's a wonderful, big, expensive house, isn't it? So you know he's money.
Like, I'm his twin or something.
Twin brother.
Before he sees them, he opens the door, doesn't he? And all you hear is him go, "Mummy, Mummy!" Instantly tells you everything you need to know about the cat. If you've not seen the first one, okay, I know everything I need to know about this guy.
Well, they didn't go. I don't think in the first one you don't dig down into Colin. Like, I don't think you really dig down into any of them. But I would say that Vim is the one, and Den almost, because he's got the sausages, so you sort of get an idea of him being like, well, he's got no money and he's a bit thick and all that. But with Colin, you don't really get a glimpse behind his big wig and his pretense as much in the first one.
Bad News kind of did for Bad News what The Man Behind the Green Door did for Kevin Turvey.
I agree.
It's longer as well. Yeah. It's noticeably longer. Like it's 45 minutes to an hour.
I mean, the Kevin Turvey bits are only 5 minutes, aren't they? Quite understandably, you only get a glimpse into Kevin, but he's fully formed, and you see all of his neuroses, I think, come out along those monologues. Whereas, there's just, as we said, it's an ensemble piece, and it's obviously been written by not Rick, and therefore, Rick's having to play, the lines, and he's doing it brilliantly, but he doesn't necessarily get to shine, does he? Whereas in the second one, I wonder whether there was a sort of discussion, like, let's bring Colin and his shitness, like, into it, because it's actually really fucking funny, isn't it? Like, Spider doesn't really get developed in either of them, does he? He's just like, as you say, he's the drummer.
I didn't know his second name until reviewing, going for this, Spider Web.
Nice.
Okay.
Obviously a fake one. But he's just he's got a girl pregnant and
But she's a hippie and
he's a druggie.
Sorting his life out as well. Like, it's been really good for him.
That's the long and short of his character arc.
I'd say Vim and Colin, rivalry, bitterness, bickering between the two of them. I think that's the most that Rick has to do within the story of this. He's more a foil for Vim.
Yeah, I would agree. Vim sees himself completely as the lead.
As the front. He's the front. He is.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's kind of symptomatic of Rick's participation in most of the comic strip films, isn't it? Because Ade Edmondson is very much, from the beginning, from Five Go Man in Dorset, Ade Edmondson was one of the most prominent and leading ones in the comic strip. And Rick was in many of them, but he was never... often, I mean, Mr. Jolly, yes, and A Fistful of Traveller's Checks, yeah, but the rest, he always tends to be kind of a supporting person, often in an ensemble.
But that was the point of the comic strip, I guess, wasn't it? Like, but then you're right. Like, Aid had his one where he's playing John Major, and then there are other ones where it's sort of like Robbie Coltrane takes the lead. And I don't know whether it's that Rik didn't write them and put them forward, or what, and how they sorted those kind of things out with the comic strip, or whether his ideas weren't something that everyone else to do. Like,
It was 'cause
how
he'd
did they
already-
divvy it up?
He had the writing credit beforehand.
You've
you know,
already
so
had enough
maybe it's not-
success
yeah.
with the young ones.
It's our
and the
go.
next days
It's
were-
our turn.
Do you
Fuck
think
off.
he was too busy with it though? Because obviously it was 1983 when they first did Bad News, wasn't it? Which of course Aid didn't write. He was in it as Vivian.
No, he wrote
fantastically.
it, but he didn't. He wrote Bad News. Did you say? What
I
did
was
you
talking
say?
about the young ones.
Sorry.
So Aid didn't write the young ones, but he wrote Bad News, didn't he? So I wonder whether just Rik was busy with that, doing the young ones a bit more than he was focusing on like pitching ideas for the comic strip. I mean, we don't know. We'd have to, ask
So do you
people who
think-
aren't willing to talk to us.
Do you think the rivalry between Vim and Rik is playing on the rivalry that they maybe had deep down as Aid and Rik?
Rik and Aid loved playing those characters of
Yeah.
tension, and like tension leads to comedy. So you've
like
got Richie and
brothers.
Eddie were always at each other's throats. You've got the sibling kind of thing. Like that dynamic within a partnership leads to laughs.
But
and
this is very different where Colin is passive aggressive. This is his only character where he's not being out saying exactly what he means. He's being snide about it, Which is very un-rock and roll, I think, as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he's not, is he? So, I mean, is the joke that actually Rik couldn't really play?
Oh, I believe he couldn't play, and so they just
Yeah.
incorporated that into the character.
So
I
that
mean,
was
that's-
part of what probably they were niggling at with
Yeah.
it. It's like, well, you can't even play bass, and like all that Rik being like, who's playing bass on this when
Yeah.
he's been chucked out? And it's brilliant. It's almost Rik the Poet-esque, isn't it? Where he's sort of like, right, well, I'm going to go. I'm not going to argue with you. No,
And
I'm
it's-
not
it's
going to
'cause
argue.
it's his amp or something. Is that right? I think.
I think it's the no, it's Den. Den argues about the amp with Aid, doesn't he?
Yes, he. I don't have an amp, and he brings in a Marshall, and it's maybe I get my somewhere. I think it was his van or something.
It might have been his van that they're using. I think it's time for a word from our sponsor.
Wall's pork sausages, famous for nearly 200 years. Famous for their tremendous meatiness. Famous for their phenomenal flavor. Now Wall's pork sausages are made with even more lean meat, which can only make them more famous still. Wall's pork sausages. It's the way we make them that makes them famous.
So, in comparison to other Rik characters, what are Colin's character traits?
Right.
What does he have in common, and what are his differences?
So he's passive aggressive and bitchy, very vain, insecure, constantly trying to appear profound. Often believes that he's the real deal, the most creative in the ensemble, the gang, and thinks everyone else is beneath him and stupid.
Do you think he does believe that, Colin? Or do you think he's actually crippled with the anxiety of I'm going to get found out?
Do you think he knows that everyone else is actually better, but he has to project?
Yeah, he's
his idea?
pretending. He's putting it on. I would say that deep down, Colin, if you asked him, would have to admit
He's-
that
I
he
don't
isn't
think
the rock and roll
I think deep down he would know, think it, but never admit it.
No, and
No.
he's going to keep
He's-
on. He's going to fake it, but never make
Well,
it.
they all try and one up themselves when they're like, let's get 4 beers. Yeah, I'll have 4 beers to older, maybe 16.
I
Yeah,
love that.
100. And but they are drinking them all,
Oh,
They,
yeah.
they do have some sort of rock and roll
The
thing.
brilliant detail in it is that again, it's that Dumb and Dumberer, isn't it? And Nigel, well, not Nigel, it's Den has drunk 48 pints.
Mm.
So out of 100, he's just sat there literally downing them, and you think the others probably haven't gone that far. It's a weird one with Colin. I would also say he's got a lot of underlying issues with his confidence, though.
Mhm.
Even though I know you're saying like he's putting it, but I would actually say he's got a similarity with a lot of Rik characters in that once he gets developed a bit, it is like if you just sort of needle him a bit, his mask falls.
Yes,
In a
well,
way the others
The
don't.
mask falls is the wig coming off, isn't it? Obviously,
Yes,
it's
but
the-
even in other little bits of dialogue, it sort of does, even without the wig bit. Like there are moments where you just think, oh yeah, there's just a slip there, and he's being caught out, but he quickly kind of recovers
I
from
think
it.
he sees himself as the ladies' man, the heartthrob in the group, which is his own invention. You know, I don't
Delusion,
think, yeah, his own delusion. Yeah, him doing the tongue thing all the time, and I think that's a real point of contention with Vim as well. Like, you think, like, no, I'm the front man.
Mm.
Don't you dare. You know, and their arguments, like when they're not backstage, they're in the hotel room and stuff, and it's like, oh, let's go and be the Doors or something. Go and be like they pretend to be another band.
The Who.
Yeah,
They
and
want to be the
then,
Who, and he's
no,
like,
I'll be such a no. It was my idea to be, and
It's
then
Pete Townsend.
yeah,
isn't it?
and then they start fighting like Richie and Eddie.
So yeah, at that
Mm.
point, that's like two squabbling little toddler brothers, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So that dynamic that, by that point, this is what, 1987?
88.
They filmed it in 87, I
Oh,
think. I
filmed it,
remember it
yeah.
came up on the end on the credits. It was, I think. Anyway, 87 came up on the end, so I don't know. But what I'm saying is they'd developed, through the young ones from after doing Bad News 83. So that Vivian and Rik kind of like rivalry, and obviously as the Dangerous Brothers and all of that, they were well honed at how funny that can be when they're allowed to unleash themselves on
Yeah.
each other.
He's
A lot of Rick.
And trashing the room and everything. It's just like going through the tropes of heavy metal bands, isn't it? Like all of those bits are hit.
he's someone who wants to be seen to be good at what he does and competent.
Mm.
And I love there's this brilliant bit where he tries to be seen to be really knowledgeable and cool, and then at the end it's really topped off with just Rik doing some great physical comedy, which is the can you just bring it up a bit more? You just know, and it's going to build and build and build, and then at the end of it,
And it's
clang,
like-
and what's the piece de resistance? It's Rik doing physical comedy. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is a little escalation sketch in itself, isn't it? It's just, and it's similar again to the sort of like Turn It Up to 11.
It's Spinal Tap-ish, isn't it?
That
Yeah.
idea of can you just and like pretending you know something about music.
So for people who don't know the timeline of this, and you can help educate me here, am I right in thinking that which one was made first?
They
and
were
which
being
one-
shot at the same time.
and basically Spinal Tap was just released a few months before Bad News.
So I actually think that Spinal Tap came out after.
Okay.
I do think it was that this happened a couple of months before,
And
but it was
because-
just the exposure.
Yeah, because this was just TV on Channel 4
Yes.
and Spinal Tap was
Yeah.
in cinemas, it gets noticed.
Exactly. It was
Yeah.
American, and it got. I mean, there's a very different feel to Spinal Tap. I think, like Bad News is very rough and ready.
There's a plot to Spinal Tap
Yeah.
that isn't.
Yeah, Bad News. The first one, it's half an hour. It's it's a great comic strip episode, but it's not, as you say, had the budget and the power behind it of like the publicity that Spinal Tap got. Obviously,
There's a fantastic meta joke about the process of making a documentary when they're on the road and you see the van driving across the motorway, and then there's, oh god, it's taking so long. It's like, well, yeah, they've got to keep getting out, setting the camera up over the bridge and film us driving past.
I haven't watched Spinal Tap in a long time, but like tonally it's very different, and they really are taking the piss out. of a lot
Obvious
of the
comparison, though,
different
isn't it?
bits.
It's
The same
shitty
idea.
band. Yeah,
It's the same idea. It's a
and
brilliant
both for
idea.
documentary and mockumentary as well.
It's a brilliant idea, but just unfortunately didn't take off in the same way for these guys. But hey, I mean, I think Rik Mayall and Nigel and Peter, did their own thing. They wouldn't have wanted all that fame
course
and
we-
money, would they?
Den, I think, he might be my favourite in this. Den, he doesn't have much to do with Rik at all. Well, with Colin at all. Colin and Den don't really interact very much. Now, I can see that maybe because Colin's meant to be like the prat, the silly one, I think he would easily dominate Den, and you don't really want to see that as much.
And just to clarify, Den is Nigel Planer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because that could also that's a very similar relationship with Rik and Neil, isn't it? Because Rik is kind of a prat and Neil is a bit of a prat and Rik dominates Neil, isn't he? So it's sort of a continuation of their relationship in the
He's
young
more
ones.
patronising to Den than the other band members. He assumes they're all idiots, but I think he talks down to him the most,
Yeah.
dismisses him.
I would
Okay.
say Den has more airtime on screen on his own.
Right.
Don't you think?
Rather
Yeah.
than interacting
Yeah,
with
I
other
think
people.
it's
Yeah,
maybe
they
Den
let-
just tips it for me as the best.
They let his stupidity shine in it, I think, and that is what he's there to serve, isn't it?
Ah,
He's not there to serve a dynamic
Well,
between
yeah.
more than one of them. He's
So-
actually just the
There's a
idiot.
great bit where, sorry,
I was just going to say he spars a little bit with Vim because it turns out obviously in the sequel that they're actually living together. He's doing
They're
his painting
working
and
together,
decorating
yeah.
business. It's their van that
Uh-huh.
they're using.
yes.
But Vim's trying to pretend like he'd been estranged from Den, so they've got
Yeah.
a bit of a dynamic, haven't they?
Sure.
Vim and Den rather than Colin and
And also, it's in the first one when Colin's bragging about, oh, yeah, I had this massive night last night and I smashed up the TV. And Den's, oh, well, I bet your mum wasn't happy about that.
Yeah.
Well, she wouldn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
an opinion on it, would she? What do you mean? Well, she's dead. What? When did this happen? Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
His name's Vim and his mum's dead. Yes. Fucking please play along, Den, please.
I wonder if the reason they have him on his own so often, if this is it's to do with the mechanics of comedy here. And I don't want to try and get too analytical, but I'm going to. So if you have an idiot who's saying idiotic things, it's probably they land funnier if they're on their own saying it to themselves or to camera. There's no one there to correct them because as soon as they're there with a regular person, either or someone who doesn't like them,
It's got to react.
yeah, the person has to react, and 9 times out of 10 the reaction would be that's ridiculous or something, or to bully them. So it's funnier just to have them on their own saying it as a sort of idiot savant kind of thing.
Yeah, and to be that little bit lonely and sort of we're watching them and we're laughing at the idiocy, but we are also sympathising. I think you sympathise a lot with Den in this, whereas Vim, he's actually quite a sort of unlikable character, I would argue. You know, he's got his dream, right? So you're sort of admiring that he's wanting to pursue that, but it's also kind of heartbreaking because it's like, well, they are shit. The lyrics in the songs are what struck me like on the rewatch. Like they're absolutely just like Route One kind of heavy metal stuff, you know, nightmare, blood, bad news, you know, all that sort of stuff.
We're going to quickly go over his relationship with Spider, and then he often kind of ignores Spider, actually, and treats him like a child. But in more bad news, you see Colin tries to side with Spider when he's angry at Vim, an attempt to kind of break up the band, like play favourite stuff. So he's this, you know, the manipulative older brother, younger sibling thing of like just trying to, you know,
shitster.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Not that I'm a little sister and I know exactly what you're talking about.
The album Bad News, 1987, was produced by, do you know?
Oh, Brian May
Yes.
of Queen.
Yes, which is why they got to do a Bohemian Rhapsody cover.
Yeah.
Brilliant, yeah, nice. I mean, genius, and that's what their fame brought them, isn't it? That kind of like links to famous people that wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
Because they were mates with Lemmy, weren't they, as well?
They were. That's what
Did they meet him on?
Oh, at Monsters of Rock. Yeah.
Well, I assume they met him on Young Ones.
Oh, yeah, he was on that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But like one of the key things is if you're spoofing music, you have to do a good job of it. You can't do it shit because then it's not funny. You have to do it as well as musicians, and then it has to be funny as well. So getting Brian May to produce it is a great thing. And also, as you said, it meant that he then gave them permission to cover Bohemian Rhapsody, and so he probably was quids in on it because they released it and it did well.
Yeah.
And as the writer, he would have done quite well.
Nigel Plain had touched upon that with his obviously bringing out Neil from the Young Ones like records. Like they had proper musicians working on that, and he said, you know, it was a genuinely great prog rock album with me saying my stupid shit over it. You know, like that it has to be believable.
In spite of me, it was good. Yeah.
Because music and comedy are a really interesting mix, aren't they? Like I love musical comedy. Some people absolutely hate a lot of musical comedy, and it's really interesting how it can split the room because they're both fantastic creative outputs, but trying to merge them has to be done particularly well, doesn't it? Because you don't want to listen to shit music, and you also don't want to hear just shit naff comedy over what could be mediocre, you know, or really good music.
So what about, that makes me think of the Young Ones' Living Doll, where their musical parts, to call it music is a bit of a stretch, right? But
but overall it works, doesn't it, as a song?
But it's four men screaming, really, isn't it? And
that works because it's already an established track, though, and it's the whole Cliff Richard joke, isn't it? So
if you hadn't seen the Young Ones or Cliff Richard before, and you was, what the fuck is this?
You
probably wouldn't buy the single.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to listen
to
it.
For comic relief, so yeah.
Fuck 'em.
The hell, fuck 'em.
I wanted to touch just a little bit. We mentioned Dawn French is in the first one as the schoolgirl, which is borderline. But hey, those things absolutely happen
as well.
Dawn French as the schoolgirl, and then you have wonderful part from Jennifer Saunders coming in as the rock journalist Sally Freeman. And I think Jennifer does this wonderfully grounded, like, sort of like, and she's doing this sort of like voice as well, like similar to the Colin.
Yeah.
She is, isn't she? And it's that faux pretentious but trying to be cool,
Yeah.
sort of quality to your voice when you're talking. And like, I mean, I've been a journalist for many years. Like, you do meet people who just believe their own bullshit, and she's a rock journo, right? So she's so cool. She's on the kind of road with this band, and she's believing that she's like at the heart of trying to find out what's driving these guys, what it is about them, these heavy metal guys, and it's so great because they just have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
But she also has pretty much no fucking clue, right?
There's chemistry between her and Vim, and obviously they went on to get married, the actors. But
Yeah.
But the characters have a bit of chemistry. I feel.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder whether that was sort of just natural in terms of how they acted it. But actually, they acted in other stuff and they didn't have that. So it must have been written in that, there's a frisson of excitement because she's going to fancy the guitarist, right? She's in with the band. And that's, as you said earlier, like the lead guitarist is the sexy one. And that's what Vim wants to be, isn't it? So he's kind of playing up to that. There's that nice moment on the stairs where they're smoking that spliff as well. And then there's like the breaking of the kind of, what is this real stuff or whatever? And like, it all kind of falls apart a little bit. And again, you peek behind the curtain of the documentary. But those sort of real life, I'm going to follow these people on the road sort of stuff. It's a great device, wasn't it? And that's it's great that they brought her back in the second one as well. It's completely unbelievable, really. Like, I was going to say, what do you think of the premise of
her career?
Channel 4 have paid for this shit band that broke up years ago to be reunited to do one tour,
what
gig.
that is, as Rob Lowe calls it in Thank You for Smoking, is it's a line of dialogue. Look, it'll just be one line of dialogue and then that's it.
Yeah, but it I don't know. It feels, when you're looking at it, obviously you said we're not here to analyse, but we are, aren't we? And it does feel fairly lazy.
There's a nice bit with Dawn French as the agent of
yes, she's the record label,
where Colin's going through all of the ins and outs of the contract, which sounds like the worst contract in the history of rock and roll.
And I love how he's a bank.
Yes, I'll sign that. Yes.
Just like, yes, okay. And I was going to say, do you think Dawn French, she's a new character, isn't she, in the second one? It's not that the schoolgirl grew up and got into the record industry, do you think?
I do think a new character, yeah. But
It's
that would be nice. Well, they don't recognise her, do they? So
they discarded her, the jailbait she was. There's a really dark moment in that first one where that horrible guy who runs the club closes the door.
Yeah.
She's in there.
No, you don't want to watch a sound test. They're boring.
Yeah,
just close it.
It was very Jimmy Savile. Like, but they only sell that a little bit because afterwards she's kind of looking like she's quite happy about it, and she's sort of like.
I used to lock them in the back of the nightclub.
Well, it is very Jimmy Savile because that's what he did. That was his modus operandi, wasn't it? Yeah. Did he actually say that? Why did no one catch him while he was still alive?
Louis Theroux was doing an interview with Richard Herring, and he said that off camera, maybe even on camera, that he'd said. Savile said to him something like, "Look, the ones who annoyed me, I wouldn't throw them out. I'd keep them in, and I'd lock them in a room in the back of the club. And then But he was talking about guys that pissed him off. But I'm sure he did the same to women as well.
Well,
girls.
Sideline into Coogan again, but that amazing part that he played as Savile, like they had it. He was like trapping them in the back room and forcing them to do things we shall not talk about. Anyway, they didn't go that dark, thankfully, in Bad News.
So Richie is not really into music. He never really talks about it, as far as I know. So
only Vivaldi, pom pom piddly pom pom pom.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Bits.
Colin's a bit pretentious with his musical taste and things. Then would they get on? You think?
I don't think so. I can't imagine a room with Richie watching a band as cool as Bad News. Can you imagine Richie and Eddie staying? They'd probably want to beat them up afterwards if they were playing in a Lamb and Flag or something.
Both have massive delusions of grandeur. Both think they are the main character and the star. Both speak pseudo-intellectual gibberish. But much like two positively charged magnets put together, I don't think that means they would get on.
It would be like the Me Squared episode of Red Dwarf, where they think they're going to get on, but they'd end up fucking hating each other.
Both desperately want to be adored and are not, very much so. Colin hides behind a depth and Richie hides behind a bravado, I think is one of the main differences between the two.
Colin hides behind what?
A pretend depth of intellectual culture and stuff, and more of Richie puts on more of a front. I know Richie has that a bit.
We've talked about intelligence and all that sort of thing, and I think Colin's not necessarily a very stupid character in the way that Den is, but he is just painfully shit, isn't it? And that's the thing Rik said often, didn't he? Well, he said it in interviews. He liked to play people who were slightly crap, and it is interesting that Colin, I think, is potentially one of the most crap, but he plays a good facade for a long time before you see behind that curtain.
I
Right?
reckon Colin has successfully blagged his way into getting laid.
We talked about the attractiveness. We haven't even really touched on the costume. Those leopard skin outfits that he's got.
Great.
He's got like tiger print on the legs and then a leopard skin jacket and the like. It's a Brian May wig, isn't it? Essentially, like he's an interesting character in that they've really thought about what he wanted to portray. I think he's the boldest in terms of the outfits, isn't he?
He's definitely peacocking, isn't he?
But that's again, it's the character putting that on. The character has decided to look like that, where the others look like that naturally.
When you see what he looks like when he's not being Colin, he's got he's got his hair slicked down and he's got a suit and he's got dog shit on his socks.
So there's a couple of TV interviews and media appearances that are worth checking out. The Russell Hartley Show, that's the band are interviewed in character and wreak havoc. Vim argues with the host, flirts with the audience, and promotes his own solo career, which obviously doesn't exist. The Tube appearance, Vim tries to explain the philosophy of noise, accidentally says something racist, and then blames the BBC for censorship.
Is that a parody on the very real band, was it?
What, the Sex Pistols?
Yes, and they caused absolute chaos on live TV.
Philomena Cunt goes on about that. Something so outrageous that's never been seen again apart from every one of these documentaries.
But it must have been that they were sort of homaging that.
I think it was Bill Grundy or something, and Johnny Rotten said something like, "You dirty bastard."
Yeah, he's just smoking a fag.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
And at the time, it was the most shocking thing ever.
Bad News, incredibly underrated. It could have gone on for more, maybe, but definitely.
It could go on for more. It went on for more Bad News.
Right, okay, but it could have gone on for a whole series. I feel. I think
let's
maybe
Let's bring back Sally interviewing Vim and that in their old age.
I think they
Colin killed himself.
Didn't Nigel Planner spoke about this at the Slapfest, that there was an idea of just having Spider and Dennis doing something, and then Vim didn't want anything to do with it. Colin was dead.
Want to do it.
I wonder how many of those characters would have suffered from like Operation U-Tree by now or something.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Well, they're not famous enough to have exploited their fame.
It's a shame.
Right. It's certainly a gem in Rik's oeuvre.
I mean, we had to pick a comic strip character or two, didn't we? And we went with Colin because there's a lot of affection for the look. I think, we mentioned the costume. A lot of people think of it as a real iconic look from Rik. The character may not be up there in terms of the history books for me, I don't think. In terms of where you'd put Colin as a favourite Rik character, where would he rank?
Oh, I think he's, honestly, I would say he's lower middle. He's, as you say, he's got a great look. There are several really cool bits, such as you can bring it up a bit, the dog shit bit, the slit his throat bit, but there's not enough of Rik in it because it's an ensemble, because it's not really about the characters, it's about sort of lampooning the music industry through the characters. I would say if it's a top 10 character, it's probably at 10 at best. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do agree. Like, I really enjoy Bad News, but it's not one that I've rewatched, ad infinitum. But the bits that Rik are in are all very, very funny. It's not to say that it isn't a great, but I think for me, I like my music, but I don't think I'm necessarily as sort of, died into the kind of heavy metal scene.
Sure.
To get it all as much on that kind of level, certainly in the 80s. I think it was something that just kind of passed me by, and then I've watched it in retrospect, enjoyed it, but it might not necessarily be for me.
I'm kind of with you. For me, I'd say this isn't a highlight Rik character, but I would say this is one of my favourite episodes of the comic strip. I think the ensemble together is excellent.
Yeah, that's why we argued, because we talked about which ones we should do, didn't we? And it was like, well, we've got to do Bad News. And it is that, Rik's a huge part of that. So, huge wad.
And now I think we're going to finish up with a quiz. 10 questions, you know the deal. Guys, what are your buzz sounds going to be? Because it's not the farts, because we're not doing bottom.
Can I have mummy?
You can have mummy. I'll just say sausages.
That's a good one. Okay.
So sausages.
In Bad News, what is the name of the service station where the band has the infamous food fight?
Mummy. Shell petrol station.
A service? Is it a real one?
Station, yes.
Oh, okay. Can I go again?
No, you can't. Kettering?
Heston Services.
No. It's Watford Gap Services. It's a real motorway service station and a legendary stop for touring bands in the UK.
Makes sense.
Question 2. What name does Colin suggest for the band in Bad News, which is immediately rejected?
Nope, don't know.
Don't know.
The Bastards. He's shot down instantly, proving that no one respects him and his creative input. Right, question 3. When Bad News are interviewed by Fanzine in More Bad News, what inappropriate item is on the coffee table?
I'm going to say a dildo.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Mummy, a dildo.
That's one for Paul.
Is it?
Okay, question 4. What detail is on the van's dashboard that undercuts their tough rock image?
Oh, I remember the nudie lady. I can't think.
That undercuts it. I don't know. Mummy, something religious, like a pray for Jesus thing.
It's a-
She's-
It's a fluffy pink toy, like
Okay.
a sort of novelty mascot thing. Right, question 5. What does Colin claim is the difference between real music and what Vim plays? Oh, this is a belter of a quiz, this one.
Yeah.
Real music is good.
I play feelings, Vim plays notes. Colin, in a nutshell, overthinking his nonsense. All right, question 6. What is the name of the fake record label that signs Bad News?
Oh, sausages. Frilly pink.
Yes, really pink. That's one for Ange.
Want to make something of it?
Next question. In More Bad News, what philosophical movement does Colin claim influences his bass playing?
Mummy,
Yes.
Buddhism.
Oh, Taoism.
European nihilism.
Okay.
Next question.
That's good.
The opening scene for More Bad News recreates a moment from which iconic rock documentary?
Mummy, I was about to say this is Spinal Tap, but
It is.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, of course, because it's the second one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes,
Cool.
that's 2 for Paul, 1 for Ange. Okay, so final question. What is Colin's reaction when Spider froze up in the tour van on the floor?
Sausages. Starts crying.
No.
Mummy, he retches himself.
No.
No.
He blames Vim. Without missing a beat, Colin says, "That's your fault, Vim, for antagonising him."
Who won?
So
Right.
you won with 2-1.
Oh,
Well done.
thank you very much.
Go. You can tell we're not as knowledgeable about this one. That was probably our weakest quiz, but
Yeah,
well,
like I say, I've not rewatched it in the way that I have other Rik stuff. But
Well, thank you, Matt.
a lot of fun, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That was Colin on Bad News.
for other bottom related stuff and Rik Mayall related stuff, we're going to be doing more episodes on the Rik characters. Please follow us on all our socials at Talking Bottom and email us at 11africanparade@gmail.com.
Absolutely. If you've enjoyed listening to this, hopefully you'll enjoy hearing us talk live. Bottom, it will be Bottom, along with loads of stuff about Rik and Aid with Lee Corns at the Edinburgh Fringe this August, the 24th. We'll put the link in the description of this episode, and if you're following us on socials, you'll find it in our link tree.
Yeah, tickets are available. We had a great live show with Ed By at Droitwich, and we're going to have an even bigger and better one with Lee Corns.
Yeah, we hope so.
At
We hope
least
people
as
come.
good. At least as good.
Well, we hope so. I mean,
Bigger and better. Buy tickets.
Ed was incredible.
Yeah.
If it's bigger and better than
Yeah.
let's
Uh,
see what
and,
Nick Head's packing.
And finally, have any of you read anything good lately? Any good books?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, as there's a book out at the moment in all good bookshops and available on Amazon and other online retailers that's called Talking Bottom, A Guide to the Cult Sitcom.
Is that anything to do with us?
I think it might be.
I think I wrote it. We all wrote it, and it's it's out now. If anyone hasn't already bought it after hearing us wang on about it, please do, and let us know what you think.
Love you guys.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening.